Believe it or not, Titanfall 2 got released 8 years ago, and to this day it still has one of the most popular, cult-like and consistent fan bases I personally have ever seen. But there is something that seriously needs to be spoken about, because ever since Titanfall 2 dropped, well, we have never seen semblance of Titanfall 3 since, besides a bunch of rumors and what we wish would be Titanfall 3. Now, there is something that I need to be completely honest about. I've actually never played Titanfall 2 before, until recently. It was because of Apex Legends that I even found out about Titanfall at all. And yes, I am making a full video about playing Titanfall 2 for the first time, right from the campaign on master difficulty, right down to the nitty-gritty of the multiplayer as well. So, you know, if you want to see that video, then I'm pretty sure that you know exactly what to do. I have played Titanfall 2's campaign on every single difficulty, as well as collected every single achievement for it, as well as every single pilot helmet. I have regenerated my pilot to Gen 2 as a completely new player, and in total I have invested a good couple hundred hours into Titanfall 2. And if there's one thing that I can say for absolute certainty after playing the game completely, it's that Titanfall 2 is quite literally a masterpiece of a game. I have never had the kind of FPS experience that Titanfall 2 delivers, and that's actually when it really dawned on me. Respawn actually genuinely had absolutely no idea what they made until a while after they released it. Because after they had abandoned the game for a while, only to revive it later simply to market Apex Legends, this game still had a very active player base, and there are still some content creators to this day who thrive off making Titanfall content. And now, all these years later, I completely understand why Titanfall veterans see Apex Legends as an insult to Titanfall, because, well, it's just better. However, in this video there are a few reasons I want to touch on as to why eventually either Respawn or EA will have no choice but to eventually just cut to the chase and bring us Titanfall 3. Because firstly, if we're being completely honest with each other, player to player here, Apex is dying. You see, the vision that the old devs at Respawn had of keeping Apex alive to 10 to 15 years is unfortunately not going to become a reality. As a matter of fact, EA has completely forgotten about that original intent and has instead found ways to keep BlackRock happy and make as much money off of the game as physically possible. And when Apex Legends bites the dust one day, EA will have a decision to make. Give the community Titanfall 3, or close that door entirely and move on to something completely new. The only problem with that is, if they do decide to do that, Titanfall 3 probably wouldn't perform well in the long run, and that's because it's under EA. This damn company has lost so much trust and goodwill with multiple of its communities. For something like Titanfall 3 to work in the long run for a company with a reputation as crazy as EA's, they're gonna have to stop farming money and start seriously farming trust. The issue here is that EA does not let Respawn do what they're actually passionate about and what they know will be good for their games. Because the exact same thing that happened to Apex also happened to Titanfall. The only difference is EA is trying their best to keep it on life support because, well, it's birthed billions of dollars for them. Every single thing that the devs at Respawn wanted to do for both Titanfall and Apex Legends was utterly ignored and denied by EA because it didn't align with their monetary values. And to think that Titanfall is such a good game that the player base is alive after years upon years with basically zero content updates should be proof enough to tell you that Respawn holds one of the best FPS experiences in their hands, with the capabilities to generate even more money than Apex Legends itself. And with the fame of Apex shining light on Titanfall, it really doesn't make any sense that a third installment is considered a flop by EA when they were the ones that killed it right off the rip in the first place because of poor decision making. We all know that Titanfall has left such a deep and beautiful mark in the industry that even indie developers want to recreate or create a new and better version of Titanfall since the developers won't. We have seen strides such as Diesel Knights, a Titanfall inspired game in a Diesel Punk world, being created by a very small group of developers. Even bigger companies like Wargaming want a piece of that cake. creating a battle royale extraction mech looter shooter called Steel Hunters. And we have talked about these games in depth on the channel before, trying to bring back some kind of hope for this IP. But the truth is, the community doesn't want another Apex update. The community wants Titanfall 3. And as a matter of fact, just for the cherry on top of the cake, as of the date of recording this video, it was just found that EA's stock has dropped by 20% in one day. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this is absolutely fantastic news because this is exactly what EA needed. A massive wake-up call. Because for a company that is as money hungry and as greedy as EA, this is not a good look for them or the investors. The more money they lose, the better it is for us, because maybe this time they will actually do something out of value and not because they want some monetary gain. Now, I'm pretty sure we all know that Apex Legends is currently having an event where there are 2 collection events in one event. This has never happened in the history of Apex Legends. There are currently 9 store tabs, and some of those tabs have multiple upon multiple rows and columns of skins that you can purchase, with some of those skins being $50 for a single legendary skin for a single character. You see, this is the fear that the community has. If Titanfall 3 were to be released, something as amazing as this IP would simply get turned into a microtransaction cesspool of what the fuck. Let's not even get into the egregious battle pass changes that took headlines all over the internet. And EA's monetization practices just don't exist within the games they make, but it also exists within the company itself. If you are a high-ranking employee within Respawn, then EA will incentivize you with stock options of the company itself, as well as retention bonuses tied to EA's performance, which financially incentivizes high-ranking employees to stay at Respawn. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't want more money, right? But the thing is, this is not the same as an end-of-year bonus or any kind of bonus for that matter. This is strictly done to keep top talent loyal to EA, so they don't leave the company for the very reason that we are about to talk about. The problem is, this makes it very, very difficult for developers to say no to EA or even try to convince EA of trying something like the development of Titanfall 3, especially after Apex Legends' success, which, by the way, Apex Legends was a complete mistake. It wasn't even supposed to happen. It just so happened that the game was good enough to generate billions upon billions of dollars, which of course sparked EA's inner corporate American greediness and decided to completely drop the idea of Titanfall 3. And this in turn also kind of screws over the developers who don't get financially incentivized by EA, because they then have no choice but to listen to those who do. And so we find ourselves with a serious problem, because it's kind of like an internal civil war within the company, where Respawn is split between a faction whose ideas and suggestions made out of passion for these games get completely ran through the mud, and the faction of developers who don't care at all because at the end of the day, more money for them. Which is just one of the small reasons as to why it would be extremely difficult for Respawn to go independent as a studio at all. I mean, if you look at the history of EA, companies like DICE, BioWare, and Criterion have all faced the absolute relentless and despicable wrath of EA. The only way for a studio to go independent from EA is for former developers to leave and create their own independent studio, which is why so many developers have already left Respawn and been replaced with devs that do not have the passion and spark that made the franchise in the first place. I mean, despite the fact that the original devs have left Respawn, that doesn't take away from the fact that some good things have happened in both Apex and Titanfall, gameplay wise of course. Titanfall 3 would need to take everything that's been done in both Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends, learn from other games that are succeeding like Marvel Rivals, Call of Duty, and Fortnite, and push the game into a new era of first-person shooter. The very mere fact that Apex Legends is dying right now, it doesn't matter what they do, what they add, and what they change, or how much the guy who gets paid to ban cheaters doesn't do his job. It just won't change the fact that the community is done with EA. Your stonks don't just drop by 20% in one day for nothing. The CEO of EA has said it himself that there are no plans to work on an Apex Legends 2. And honestly, at this point I'm starting to think that they're purposefully milking what's left of Apex, killing it off so they can make a Titanfall 3, because if something like that were to be released whilst Apex was still alive, it could kill off the billion-dollar magical cash cow machine, and according to EA's logic, that's a bad thing. In all seriousness though, Titanfall 3 would need to be handled with extreme care. The problem is, Respawn and EA are constantly changing who their target audience is between casuals and competitive players. There is never a sweet spot, a balance, and Apex has completely lost its identity because of this. Let's take the Fallout franchise for example. It had such a massive player base, and it still does to this day. It's generated billions of dollars and millions of players have played it at once. And yet the developers could not give a solitary shit about whether you like the game or not, because it has an identity and it was marketed towards a specific audience. While Respawn is constantly catering to not just pros and casuals, but as well as the aliens from freaking Mars, because you never know what's going to happen in the next season that you load up Apex. This cannot happen with Titanfall 3 because it will die faster than it gets released. Considering the fact that Respawn would take gameplay, mechanical, and other overall ideas from Apex and implement it into Titanfall 3, people need to know exactly what to expect when they boot up Titanfall 3. I don't want to have to main a Ronin Titan just to see it get nerfed into the ground next patch, and then the Legion Titan now quite literally has aimbot and wall hacks and other Titans can't compete anymore. Fortnite, for example, knows its target market, has an identity, and that's why they collab with quite literally everything on the planet. Marvel Rivals obviously knows exactly who they are selling to, because if you won't give the players a Gunner skin for Loba at Respawn, then you can bet your ass I'm going to Marvel Rivals and getting it there. Call of Duty knows its audience as well. It may also be going into the gutters right now, but the truth is it sure has made more billions of dollars than Apex could only dream of making. But that leads me straight into my next point. If Titanfall 3 ever decides to exist within this timeline and this reality, then we absolutely, by any means necessary, cannot continue to use EOMM, otherwise known as engagement optimized matchmaking. You see, the difference between SBMM and EOMM is quite simply Titanfall versus Apex Legends. Titanfall's multiplayer games are pretty fair and balanced. It's either one game you get shit on and your team loses, or the next game you shit on them and your team wins. The server will be mixed with good and bad players alike and evenly. You're not always winning, but you're also not always losing. In Apex Legends, however, even if you're a decent player, your teammates will be complete noobs with low stats and completely unsure about how to play the game, but the champions that you're facing and other players in the lobby will be extremely sweaty, high-ranked players. Or, on the occasion, you finally get put with good players on your team, and all of a sudden the entire lobby becomes a massive disease-infested sweatfest, making it impossible to win. In short, the game decides when you lose, and you will have to lose time and time and time and time again before it finally decides that you can finally catch a dub. This is done so they can keep you playing the game for as long as possible, chasing that win that you so desperately desire. This leaves us with a problem, because new players can't enjoy the game because they keep getting dunked on, and if you're a decent player, well, good luck in your ALGS $1 million pub match, friend. If something like this had to get implemented into Titanfall 3, then I can very safely say with my entire chest, we are so cooked, chat. But you know what else does need to come to Titanfall 3? Support for the independent creative community. It is so genuinely sad that in both Apex Legends and Titanfall, EA refuses to support anyone that decides to do community-generated game modes. What's this? The community wants to host a Northstar client hide-and-seek tournament? Ban them, sue them, it absolutely cannot happen. Hey guys, here's Unreal Engine 5, make some dope shit, and we'll pay you for it. Go crazy and have fun. So why is it that the Apex community and the Titanfall community has to go out of their way to create R5 Reloaded, as well as the Northstar client, an entirely different version of both games where you can mod, create, and do anything you wish, whilst the Fortnite community was simply given an entire game engine on a silver platter and was actively encouraged to create more content for their game. It's the mere fact that EA is chasing billions of dollars, but will completely shoot down any member of the community who even remotely decides to try and help them achieve that. The irony is so wild, the last two brain cells in my head are slowly dying because of how much that just doesn't make any sense. They won't support anyone who makes content for the game, but at the same time, they won't add in any new content for both Titanfall or Apex Legends. I don't hate Apex, and I don't hate Titanfall, and I don't hate Respawn either. I love both of these games so much. I'm really speaking out of genuine concern for both of these games because, well, they hold a special place in everybody's heart that's played them for a very long time. And so, the only thing we can do is really hope for the best and hope that the developers at Respawn are actually done some justice and they can create something that's truly beautiful for the community. But anyway guys, thank you for once again coming to my super annoying rant. I genuinely hope that you did enjoy the video. Please stick around. I do have that Titanfall 2 video that I'm going to be releasing very soon. It's a 40-minute long video. I've had tons of fun recording and creating the video. It's definitely something very new that I haven't done on the channel yet. So if you want to stick around for that video and have fun watching it, then you know exactly what to do. But anyway, I really appreciate every single one of you guys for stopping by. And of course, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.